Chapter 22, Chemical Injuries. I hate what it did to us, but I wear these Agent Orange t-shirts because it's important my brothers know they're not suffering alone. U.S. Navy Ken Gamble, founder of the Orange Heart Medal Foundation. Long after the last shots were fired, another battle raged on. One fought not on the battlefield, but in the bodies of those who served, as the silent poison of Agent Orange slowly took its toll on our Vietnam veterans who were left to suffer in silence. As mentioned before, dioxins were generously sprayed to defoliate the dense jungle landscape to rid the Viet Cong of cover. In Operation Ranch Hand, a 10-year operation from 1961 to 1971, it is reported that U.S. sprayed approximately 20 million gallons of herbicide. Not only were our men exposed to it as crop duster planes sprayed the landscape, but they also drank the contaminated water, slept on contaminated soil, and breathed the air where it lingered. Anyone who was in country is believed to have been exposed to the toxic chemicals, men and women. Even those serving on ships near the shore are believed to have been exposed via airborne droplets. Some of our men reported minor skin rashes immediately upon exposure, but for most of the men and women who served in Vietnam, it reared its ugly head years following the war. Talking to our veterans about their suffering from the effects of Agent Orange is the most heartbreaking for me. I was killed in Vietnam, I just haven't died yet, Ken Gamble, founder of the Orange Heart Medal Foundation, shared with me. Ken proudly shares about his time as a member of the Navy Amphibious Unit, patrolling the southern waters and maintaining, repairing, and keeping our forces operational. When we were given a moment's break to escape the oppressive heat, we jumped in the contaminated water to cool off, or we'd play football on the beach. Both activities were laden with toxic chemicals. The 55-gallon metal drums used to transport these dangerous herbicides would be repurposed to catch the rainfall for the men to shower under. All this to say, our Vietnam veterans unwittingly brought the war home with them. For decades following the war, the government denied the lethality of the chemicals, refusing to give medical care for the plethora of illnesses wreaking havoc in our veterans' bodies and lives. Despite repeated denials, Vietnam veterans refused to surrender. That's not in their nature. Instead, they took the fight to Capitol Hill, determined to prove the truth about Agent Orange exposure. After nearly 2 decades of relentless advocacy, their perseverance led to a historic victory, the Agent Orange Act of 1991, which finally acknowledged the link between their exposure and certain illnesses. This legislation not only provided compensation and medical care, but more importantly, vindicated these veterans, proving that their fight for recognition was just and long overdue. For countless military families, that acknowledgement was priceless. Their hard-fought battle for justice did more than secure benefits for their own generation. It paved the way for younger veterans returning from the Middle East. Because of their efforts, today's servicemen and women exposed to toxic burn pits now have a path to medical care and compensation they deserve. The bravest generation didn't just fight for themselves, they fought for every veteran who has come after them. Long-term health issues are still a reality for our brave men and women who served in Vietnam. Cancers, endocrine disorders, neurological effects, and psychological challenges have had lasting effects on all who served in Vietnam, just to varying degrees. According to the Orange Heart Medal Foundation, there are currently 19 known illnesses attributed to the exposure to Agent Orange. This is going to be tough to pronounce them all. Way easier just to type them. Amyloidosis, porphyria, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, Hodgkin's disease, chronic B-cell leukemias, prostate cancer, Parkinson's disease, ischemic heart disease, peripheral neuropathy, respiratory cancers, diabetes mellitus type 2, multiple myeloma, chloracne soft tissue sarcomas, hypothyroidism, Parkinsonism, bladder cancer, hypertension, and monoclonal gammopathy. I'm sorry if I got any of those wrong in my pronunciation. Decades of denial didn't just dismiss their suffering, it worsened it. Without early intervention, illnesses that might have been managed or mitigated were left to progress unchecked. The repeated rejection of their claims only deepened their frustration and sense of betrayal, as many felt abandoned by the very government they had served. But perhaps the most devastating realization for Vietnam veterans is that their battle didn't end with them. The toxic effects of Agent Orange exposure have been passed down to their spouses and children, leading to debilitating conditions and birth defects in the next generation. Dr. Kaylin Bruner-Tran, a research scientist at Vanderbilt University Medical Center, has been instrumental in bringing this truth to light. Through her groundbreaking research and writings, she has significantly advanced the understanding of the long-term and generational health consequences of Agent Orange, proving that its impact reaches far beyond the battlefield. These men and their families have suffered greatly at the foot of these toxic chemicals. Colt Romberger, a United States Air Force and Iraqi War veteran, is from a multi-generational line of servicemen. His father, Clifford, served in Vietnam, and his grandfather, Homer, served in World War II. Colt is currently on an expedition to honor those suffering from chemical exposures during wartime. Having grown up on a horse ranch, when Colt's father passed away from a brain disease caused by Agent Orange, he knew the only way to honor his dad's memory was to saddle up and carry his father's ashes from coast to coast, completing a bucket list item of his dad's and raising support and awareness for millions of other veterans like him. Expedition Orange is the nonprofit, and the riders known as Cowboy Express are carrying a message of hope to generations of veterans suffering from toxic chemical exposure. I'd be remiss if I didn't give mention to those living in Vietnam who have had to live off the contaminated land and drink contaminated waters for the past 5 decades. The deformities and illnesses they endure are unimaginable. The U.S. has been actively supporting initiatives to clear the Vietnamese landscape from buried mines left behind, as well as clean the land and water of these toxins. In more cases than not, teams are led by Vietnam veterans whose compassion for the innocent Vietnamese people never waned. To add to the legacy of lessons learned on the backs of our Vietnam veterans, their fight to be recognized as having been wounded or inflicted from the chemicals in Vietnam is a big one. Their success to be acknowledged marked the beginning of widespread awareness of chemical warfare and its lifelong effects to both our servicemen and women and the inviting country. Fortunately for our older veterans, World War II lacked a comparable legacy of chemical usage and therefore didn't have these added battles for the quality of life tacked onto their service. For decades, Vietnam veterans have fought a battle no one prepared them for, one waged not on the battlefield but in their own bodies, as the chemicals they were exposed to slowly turned into unseen enemies. Yet through illness, suffering, and years of government denial, their grit and resilience have never wavered. They have borne these wounds in silence, not seeking pity, only justice, and in doing so, they have paved the way for protections that ensure future generations of veterans will not endure the same fate. Their fight is a testament to their strength, their endurance, and their unbreakable spirit, one that deserves far more than belated recognition, but the unwavering gratitude of a nation that should have stood by them from the very beginning.